Welcome to episode 128 of the Forward from 50 podcast, where we interview people over 50 who are pursuing new direction for their lives. It's an opportunity for men and women to tell their stories, their way, and in their own words. I'm Greg Gerber, the founder of Forward from 50, and your host for today's show. Today I'm speaking with Susan Nefzger. She's a longtime communications professional who, after turning 50, pivoted from high-profile public relations work into coaching, writing, and mentoring others on a journey of self-discovery. After building a successful career in public relations with government agencies, nonprofits, and healthcare organizations, Susan felt something was missing, even though, from the outside, her life looked complete. A spontaneous decision to attend a writing retreat in Glastonbury, England, changed everything. There, Susan experienced what she describes as a creative and spiritual download that ignited her purpose and inspired her to write her first book, titled A Practical Guide to Awareness. In this episode, Susan shares how to move from chasing general goals to discovering internal fulfillment, and why conscious living and self-awareness are the foundations of lasting joy. She also talks about how simple practices like breathwork, vision boarding, and daily journaling can help people to become more present and feel more alive. Whether she's coaching corporate executives, leading small retreats, or writing spiritual guides, Susan's mission is to help people identify their passions, create meaningful routines, and ultimately lead lives filled with love and intention. To tell us more about what gives her life more meaning and purpose after turning 50, please welcome Susan Nefzger to the show. Thanks for joining me today, Susan. I really appreciate the time. How did you get involved in public relations, and what prompted you to go into that career field?
It really is an interesting story, believe it or not. I just always liked journalism, PR, and really mostly advertising. So in school, I majored in public relations and to get my AA. And then when I went to University of Florida, I majored in advertising. And I ended up getting a minor in journalism. But also at University of Florida, I worked in the press office. So I was a junior and a senior, and I liked working more than I liked school. But that was always the case.
Right.
I ended up working in the president's office at the University of Florida for the press person, the director of communications. And that was that's the word, that was my indoctrination. And it was during a time when there was a lot going on. I'm trying to think if it was Charlie Pell, the coach. There were all these NCAA things going on. Worldwide media was calling this office. And I was the only one in there, like an intern, answering the phone. I got it. So that's how I decided this is what I'm going to do.
Special.
Focused on media relations, which I still, to this day, love. So
When
that's how.
you're working for universities and government organizations, the PR people are often at the center of all of the activity that's going on. And that can be a kind of exciting place to be.
Very, very exciting. And you learn when you're young and you're in college, you're learning a lot.
Did you work for a company, or were you self-employed as a PR professional?
So initially, after University of Florida, I lived in Tallahassee and I went to work in state government. And I was working for a committee that was a joint legislative bipartisan governor-appointed growth management committee. Again, an unbelievable opportunity. And I did the PR and the press relations for that committee because the final report and everything that we were doing was we were collecting and getting all state, local, county, and city government comprehensive plans, gathering them, having surveys in 5 different regions of Florida, because Florida is a really diverse state, figuring out what the state's needs were for the next 10 years. And so through all these public forums, we made recommendations, and some of them weren't exactly popular. So we needed to have really good press relations, and we reprinted the report like 4 times because people were freaking out because we were recommending estate sales. That was my first job out of college.
Mm-hmm.
I worked for various agencies, the Florida Lottery for one, and then I moved to Miami and worked for a national, statewide nonprofit.
Okay, very good.
I did the Georgia Lottery startup and So I worked for various government agencies, and it was a great experience.
It sounds like it.
And I started my own company when my son was small because he had a learning disability. So I wanted to be able to help him in school, or at least be present and be aware, volunteer. And so I had a flexible schedule, and then it just worked out great that I could work for myself, and I really loved it. Better than working for anyone ever.
Did you work for government agencies and nonprofits on your own, or did you specialize in a different area?
A lot of nonprofits, mostly in healthcare, for like really advanced oncology, medical devices, the cyberknights, and proton therapy centers, starting cancer websites, curated websites for information for cancer patients, just all kinds of really interesting things in oncology, neurology, orthopedics, and I worked for surgeons, but for a lot of nonprofits too.
That would keep things spicy and changing all the time, I would imagine.
It really did. And then, I don't know what your next question is, but after I went to the writing retreat in 2015, I changed my business model completely because I got the download in Glastonbury, the epiphany. And I said, how can I, while I'm writing this information, how can I help people? What I found to be a newfound inspiration to help people with as a professional. So I started working with more nonprofits and with more writers, with authors. So people who weren't really the big corporate gang. Because hospitals, when you work for hospitals, it can be a morass of bureaucracy.
Exactly. That's right.
So anyway, that's how that all changed. Yeah.
So after 50, you changed and went in different direction, and you started helping people write their own material, like their own books?
I was helping it. I would say it was more at that point, more of a writing coach strategy, and also ghostwriting, but not as much because I was too busy writing my own stuff and trying to figure out where that was totally. But at least I knew I was helping people who were nonprofits or trying to help other people. That my goal was to help nonprofits who helped other people at that point. And then things just happened where I got into the coaching aspect, and I work with executives. And I just find that's just a more comfortable place for me because I can relate. Because with my consulting, I always worked with the heads of companies. It was just a really comfortable place to mentor from.
Okay.
I can't tell you exactly why, but it's just easier for me. I think because I worked with so many industry leaders in healthcare and government and worked for and with that, I think I know how to help people go from here to here. And they can tell me what they think they want, and then I know I can see the big picture.
So you work with corporate executives. Are you doing that to help them produce their biographies or to help them with their own corporate writing?
Basically, it really it starts out one way. And usually what I do is help people advance from one position to another and to decide where they want to go. So it's more about direction. And I have done a lot of ghostwriting for people in small businesses, heads of small businesses, all different categories. But I do help people figure out exactly how to get where they want to go. So it's really more strategy. And it's not about company directive or anything. It's about their individual need. Because like with my book and like being present and figuring out how to become self-aware, these people, and you could say they're not necessarily over age 50, but a lot of people who have had a high-level career or at least a lot of responsibility in any direction, they figure out pretty soon there's still something missing and they just can't put a finger on it. And so that's when they hire someone like me and they think, now I want to be a president, from a VP to a president. theoretically. And so I want to do this maybe in an external organization. So then I help them figure out why that is. And then we essentially get to what it is that they feel is missing and why they want to be the president. So it always goes full circle to becoming more aware of what your why is. That's always my thing. And I know that's a cliche to know your why, but it's really helpful to understand yourself in order to do other things in your life, in order to change your life and live a life that's more fulfilling. It's way easier if you know yourself and you know why you want to do that, rather than chasing all these things all over the world like I initially did. I traveled all over the world trying to figure out what it was that was still missing, because I had done everything and there wasn't anything. I did whatever I wanted to do. And this email came in my inbox at a time when I had said my whole life, oh, I want to write a book, but I never knew what I wanted to write a book about. It was never a focus for me, ever. And I got this email from this organization. I have no idea how I got it. And it was about this writing retreat in Glastonbury. And it was from the Conscious and Creative Writing Association or something like that. I don't even think it exists anymore. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. I need to do that. I went. It was in England. I didn't have any expectations. And that's how it all started.
Okay. So you were coaching executives on their business and how to their careers and things like that, not necessarily writing at all. You were just providing more of a life coach, business coach, executive coach kind of advice to them to advance their careers. And then you
public relations. Right. That's what I've always done.
Then you attended this writing conference and said, wait a minute, I kind of writing myself.
I had always done business writing. You know how that works. And that's totally different than personal writing. I had never done personal writing. Not poetry, not anything. It was always with a journalistic perspective for school. Because when you're an English major, you have to write a lot. You write a lot of papers and you read a lot of books. And so the focus was always, whether it was educational or for whatever purpose for work, it was always public relations and journalistically slanted. I never wrote personally. I probably didn't even really know what it meant. And then I went to this writing retreat in Glastonbury, and it wasn't a conference. It was a retreat. And it was a very specific process to tap into your creative consciousness. 15 people there. It was on the grounds of Glastonbury Abbey. So you can't get any more inspirational or historical than that. And so the whole process, the place, and the way that everything was, it was only for 4 days. It was very short. It all just opened up my creative consciousness, and I mind mapped my book the first day of the retreat. It's a guided meditation that the person leading the retreat, who is a writing coach, and she's very gifted. And then I went outside and I have my journals. This is how I write with longhand in these journals. This one's a little beat up. And I started writing my book. And the whole thing just obviously was meant to be.
Which book is this?
So this was my first book, A Practical Guide to Awareness. It's based on certain tenets that help us become self-aware. So as that was happening, I wrote that book in 6 weeks with constant download. Like I'd go to sleep, wake up, and it doesn't always happen that way. But when it does, it's great because it's easy. Download it, write it, and then get it edited. And hope it makes sense.
What kinds of things were you helping people to become self-aware of?
Who they are, what they love, what their passions are, what does that mean? If you want to help animals, what does that mean? How? Why? What do you want to do to help other people? What do you want to do to help when whatever it is you love is the thing that's your passion, whether it's hiking or riding a bike or writing or singing, whatever that is, making sure that you know why it is that you love it. And then when you know why, then you say, oh, okay. So that's one of my passions, or that's my passion. And it makes you happy and you become more fulfilled, and then you do it more. And then when you do it more, that creates a whole space for a more fulfilled, joyful life. No matter what's happening in the world around you or your life situation, that helps people become more present because they're focusing on that in that moment and they're doing it every day. And so what I help people understand is that once you can do that with your passion, you can extend that conscious effort throughout your whole day. And once you can do it throughout one day, you can continue and continue. And so all the things that happen, you get stuck in traffic, whatever. And there's a lot of worse things. You have health problems. You can work around the situation by knowing that right now is now, in the present moment. And I have that joy inside of me because I know who I am. And it sounds simple, but it's not. It's very difficult to do, and especially in today's world. So that's really what I help people understand, that once you get that foundation of knowing who you are and knowing what you love, and then the other end of the road kind of a perspective is, how do we help other people in service? Because you know how you feel when you're involved in doing and your passion and helping others find theirs. So how do we do that? How do we lead in service? Because when we help other people lead a more fulfilling life, we have more people that are doing this, that are raising the vibration of the planet. And it's always about starting in your home, in your neighborhood, in your, whatever your faith community is, whatever your professional community is. It doesn't mean it's just, it's this thing that you don't share. It means you want to share it. And so that's the beauty. That's the beauty of living consciously.
Okay.
You're living consciously in the moment you're in. And you understand that all the other stuff is just happening around you. Your life situation is just, it's in a moment in time. And that's like tomorrow, that'll be gone. Who are is right now.
That's right. So to help others is important, because I think you can't have purpose unless it involves helping others, because you can do things that you want to do that are more focused on yourself. But when you help others, it really starts creating that pattern where you feel better about what you're doing. You're helping somebody else and they're feeling better. And it just creates a synergy that is hard to match.
I don't think I agree. It's not. There's nothing like it. The other part of that, though, is the presence part. Because when you're present, like we're very present right now, and it's great. We're both feeling great. We're having this high-level conversation. And when you're doing that and you're feeling that and you're consciously in that moment, you want to do it more. So instead of being distracted by what's happening outside of what's happening with us right now, we don't care about that, because right now is the most important thing. That's all we have. But when you engage that way and you keep doing it with more people, and however, public speaking, coaching, singing, those things are all very present moment, whatever your hobbies are like that. But when you communicate with people in such a conscious way, you want to have more of that experience, because for both people, the sharing creates a trust. And when you trust each other to be able to say what you're saying and the way that you're saying it, you want to do it more. Because, I know if I communicate with Susan, she's going to listen to me and I will feel heard. And when people feel heard, there's a bond. And when there's a bond and a trust, the communication is effortless. And then that builds the relationship. And you can call it a lot of things. We've both been in careers where we've had to build relationships because that's what our careers were based on. And so it's probably easier for us, but it has to be in a conscious way for me to help other people. I teach people what that means to be consciously living, not distracted, not multitasking, not worried, all those things.
So if somebody were struggling with what to do for their life to have a more meaningful life, and they're caught in a rut or a routine, they would come to you and talk a little bit, and you would help them focus on their self-actualization and the self-awareness, I guess, of what it is they like to do, and then nudge them in that direction and kind of break the routine to get them feeling more alive.
Absolutely. And there's many tactics, which we all have heard of. The one thing I like to do, and one thing I do myself every day, there's some things that I do every day. And of course, I have to do it because if I don't do it, how do I help others figure it out? So breath work is extremely important for all kinds of people in every way. Whether you're just waking up and you're doing a meditation, breath work is good for controlling anxiety and stress. It's stress management. It's great for your physiology. So breath work is one thing I do with people all the time. I teach them. I share it all on my Instagram and my blog all the time. Millions of ways to do breath work. There's all kinds of people who do it, who teach it. So it's really important. It's the basis, I think, of being healthy because it brings you back to present moment. You focus on the breath, you feel better, you get relaxed, and then then you can move forward. So breath work is really important. And another thing I do with groups and people is I do vision boarding, but it's not like the typical vision boarding where you purposely put pictures of things up that you want to achieve in your life or you want to do. How I do it is it's more of a feeling thing. So you just feel your way through it, put some things up there, throw things together, not in an organized way. Because if you're into the creativity, you're just putting stuff up there that you really love. Let's say a sailboat, an ocean, a cat, things like that. It's nothing like I want to do this or nothing. And then you arrange things and it's a feeling thing and you arrange it to the point where you feel like that's good. And then you look at it and people are always surprised by what they see. And you can start out with various prompts. And the one thing that I like to use is think about what your perfect day would be like without any limitations. And just throw stuff on there and see what happens. And people are always surprised because they figure things out by that unconscious creative exercise. So that's another thing I do too.
Okay. So by going through the process of creating this storyboard or vision board.
I like storyboard better.
So it's about what makes people feel a specific way, not really what they want to do. So
exactly. That's how I do it. Because I think when you go down to the basis of what you're feeling, that's when things bubble up. And then you can talk about it if you want or not. But that's that's a self-discovery tactic that I use because it's not scripted.
Okay. So if people wanted to, for example, have a goal of traveling around the world, they might put places that they want to visit. That would be the goal. But you're looking at more of the feelings that they are getting by pursuing that and trying to develop that storyboard, vision board with those feelings. And they might include being with people that they love. It might include just the open space and the not being confined, or the lack of a schedule kind of thing. The sitting on the beach would have a feeling that would be different from going on a cruise.
Well,
which would be the goal.
Possibly. And then when people then have the realization of what they've given themselves, this picture or this that they've given themselves, then it opens the door to the next conversation that you have with them or that a group has. And it's good in a group because the energy feeds off of it.
Okay.
Really, it's a really expansive feeling. So people then say, oh, okay, aha. So it's an aha moment. And it may be something they've known. It may just be a repeat of something they've done before in another way. And there's more to it. So it's still expensive. So it's just something I like to do with people. It works.
With the group coaching, is that what you're doing with everybody? Is you're putting them in a group or talking with them one-on-one to get them started, but then incorporating them into the group to get the feedback from others?
It depends on what they want me to do.
Okay.
So typically I work with a small group, like 3 or 4 or 5 people, maybe 6, and then do it with the group, really. And if people want to do one-on-one, I will do it. Typically, if I'm going to work with a small group, like on a retreat, I would do this. Okay. And it would probably be outside and it would be very relaxed. And then whatever conversation follows from that, what I do, and this is what I do, I facilitate that expansion into something that benefits them going to the next level of, okay, but what does that mean for me? What does that mean to me? What does that mean for me? And then maybe some journaling.
Okay.
To what that means, and then sharing that with the group. And of course, it's a safe space and people are professional and they don't ridicule other people. That doesn't happen.
Maintain confidentiality and things like that. Right.
Definitely. Okay. So that's another thing.
So basically, you help put this newly found awareness into practical steps to get them to move in that direction.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And that brings us to my books, because I don't know how, but when I first started writing my book, I mind mapped after a guided meditation, the whole book. The first book, A Practical Guide to Awareness, from the title to the table of contents to the outline. And then from there, I just wrote the book. So then I did a workbook after that, putting awareness into practice, because I figured in all my books, there are exercises and tips on how, because it's easy to say something, but you have to help people know how to do so they can do it every day. And so I just came into this whole thing of writing these practical guides.
Okay.
So to your point of it's always about, even though my books are spiritually based and maybe a bit esoteric, my third book was written during the pandemic, A Practical Guide to Living Fearlessly. But I had thought about it or been inspired about it the summer before all that happened. So then when it was happening, I had time to write it. And it's a pocket guide. It's very small, pocket guide. Because I feel like you can take it with you, put it in your bag, and you can flick to any page and you can read it just for a little inspiration. Because my chapters are really short, because they have a lot of depth. So it's hard to give people that kind of information in the way I do and make it be some long, extensive thing that you have to read.
So your book helps.
That's my feeling.
Your book helps people overcome blocks to living their best life in a joyful and passionate way. And so how do you help them move or eliminate those blocks? What are the kinds of things that people can do?
So I can take from my book, first of all, you have to understand who you are. Have to be willing and make a commitment to self-discovery, which leads to self-awareness or self-actualization, however you want to call it. But the thing that happened, I think, for many people, and most of us, I guess, was that everything changed. The way we worked changed. Our healthcare system changed. All different things changed for people a lot. It was very scary. So what I kept thinking was, we have to figure out why we're afraid, because people grow up with various things that happen to them in their lives, which create patterns of behavior. So when you understand what you're I try to help people understand, first of all, themselves at the core level. And that takes a lot of work of journaling, meditating, creating space in your day is a big thing for me. It's the thing I say all the time with people, because everyone has to be busy. Everyone's busy all the time. Let me fill my day with as many things as I can to stay busy so they don't focus on themselves.
Right.
And this happens to people that have led busy lives, had jobs, had families, been married, had careers, had a big career. You don't have to be married and all of that, but people, this is what we were all taught. And also whatever your parents did, or your family, what they did for careers, all those things impact your way of thinking that, oh, I have to have a career. At least that's how my generation, our generation, that's what we were always taught. It's different now. So one thing I help people do is understand, first of all, what like we already talked about, what their passions are. Because when you bring passion and joy into something, you can say, I want to do more of that every day. And how do I do that? And how do I figure out what it is that floats my boat? You have to have stillness. You have to listen to yourself, because you're the one who knows. So what I do is help people understand how to create a lifestyle where you have the space, even if it's just 30 minutes a day, even if you are still a busy corporate person or busy teacher, whatever you do, you have to create the time for yourself to do whatever it is you want to do. Write in your journal, have a cup of coffee, pet your cat, but it's for you. Not your kids, not your mother, not your father. Because now in our generation, we're taking care of our parents.
Right. Yes.
There's a lot of caregiving going on, and that's extremely stressful, and it's exhausting. Creating space in your day so that you can understand and feel what you're feeling and listen to what you want for yourself. And then keeping track of that and doing daily self-awareness activity. One thing I like to do with people and help people do is, when they feel like let's say they're on a walk and they're getting ahead of themselves, like, oh, I have to do this at work later, or I have to do this tonight, or that. So trying to be present, it can be really easy. So you just describe your surroundings to yourself, and it brings you right back to, here I am right now. Okay. I'm wearing a red dress. I'm looking at the green leaves in the tree. I'm looking at the blue sky. I'm looking at the black road. I do it. I don't really do it anymore because I'm pretty good at what I'm doing now, but I used to do it all the time. But I still have to sometimes pull myself back into, because sometimes I get really excited, like my next book and having a book event. And I'll just start getting really excited and think of that. I want to do this. I want to do that. And I have to pull myself back and say, okay, what am I doing right now in this moment? I'm holding a pen. It's basic, but it works. Those are just 3 or 4 things I do. Sorry.
It sounds like it's a way for people to recenter themselves and to refocus and just collapse the world around them into a short area so that they can release all those other things that might be competing for their attention and focus on what needs to be done next. Is that correct?
Because when we do that, we create a whole timeline that is now our new reality. So you can't, let's say I'm a journalist and working for a radio station, and I really want to be writing a book in the south of France. So how do you get from there to there? So visualization is another thing that I do every day, all the time, and I teach people how to do it. So you have to visualize that new reality or your dream. Everybody has a dream, whatever that is. It can be that you want to have an ice cream shop. Okay, that's your dream. How do you get from sitting in this chair to having an ice cream shop? You have to visualize. It doesn't have to be the nuts and bolts of it, but how does it make, then you visualize the situation and you think about how does it smell? How does it feel? How does it taste? How, what's going on? What time of day is it? What are the flavors you want to sell? So you create that reality, and that's the vibration in the time-space continuum. And I know I'm getting a little esoteric, but that's how it works.
Many times that's what happens is people can create that kind of lifestyle that they want to have, and it attracts it to them because they're thinking about it all the time.
Absolutely.
Right. That's neat.
It might take 10 years. Pardon me. A year. It might take 2 years. But it will eventually will happen. But that takes a commitment. And the commitment is mostly to yourself.
Good point.
And that's for every human being. Because it's not what we're taught. We're taught that's selfish. But you have to love yourself first before you can effectively love anybody else. And the most important thing is love, because we have to feel that every person has a gift, because they do. Every human being has a unique gift, and that's part of my first book. And discover what that gift is. That's aligned with your passion. That will lead you. Learning what you love and what brings you joy and what brings you passion leads you to your gift. That's why understanding it is so important.
What challenges did this create for you in trying to develop this business?
All kinds of challenges. First of all, I'm in England. My son's graduating from high school. I was married at the time, so I'm writing the book. It takes 6 weeks. It took me a few years to publish it because I eventually, in the moment of understanding, in that epiphany in Glastonbury, that, my whole life is changing. It just all became clear. In that 72-hour time period, I knew that this information that I was going to share with people it would result in relationships ending. So I got a divorce. I changed my business lifestyle. I moved to Atlanta, and I was doing book tours and doing all that. So those are just some of the challenges that occurred. My whole entire life changed.
Okay.
But it was okay. It was difficult, but it was okay because I had this burning motivation to do this. And once I knew, there was no going back. And that's how I feel about it. But I think that's how most people feel about figuring out what it is that they really want to do with their life. Because we only have one. So might as well make it count. Right?
That's right. So what were the rewards that you received from pursuing this and helping to create that burning motivation?
It's whether I help one person or 10 people because when you help people understand what self-awareness is, and when people become self-aware, and when they get it, so there's always, it is like a light bulb moment. I hate to say that. And when you see that happen with people, it's indescribable how I feel, how happy I feel. Because I knew how I felt when it happened to me and what it led me to do and what I'm still doing and how that changes every day. But what you do is you see the beauty that is everywhere, no matter what's going on. There's beauty in everything. And I write that in my third book because I was with my mother when she passed away. And so during the time of writing Practical Guide to Living Fearlessly, that was about a lot of it because we helped caregive for my mother. But because seeing that is just an amazingly graceful part of life. And people can think that it's a sad part of life to lose your parent or your mother or who's your husband, your wife, your child, which it is. But there's also something very beautiful about understanding that life is short, and that if we can help people while we're here, become happier people by helping other people, and then seeing that it is really just a transition it was for me one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. And so for me, my greatest fear was to lose my mother. And I knew she was 94. I knew this. And then when it happened, because I was with her and I had no expectations about that, because you can't, because you don't know how it's going to happen. We're not in charge of that. Because I was there and because it was such a beautiful, peaceful process. And I understand that doesn't always happen. But for me, that was the epilogue of my book, because that just really, for me, transcended the whole finding beauty in everything. And I try to share that with people. And it's not always, I understand people have difficult lives in there. It's not always easy to see the beauty in everything. But I think when you can be grateful and see the beauty in everything, and even just the simple things that you have access to every day, your morning cup of coffee, your cat, your dog, your whoever it is, the simple things are the things that matter, because you can build a life of beauty through the simplicity of life. Nature is very beautiful. For me, I'm a big nature person, and everybody has their thing. But if we keep staying on the hamster wheel or the treadmill, we're going to miss all that.
Right.
Because we're not allowing it to happen. We're controlling the process of events.
I don't know who said it, but there's something about the fact that from every adversity is a seed to an even greater benefit. All you have to do is look for it, and look for that open door. When you think everything's collapsing around you, there is an open door.
I know it sounds like it was all a great, happy thing. I've been through a lot of adversity. And I think that it's obvious because I'm sharing this with people. But I think that is very true. My perspective and my experience. And I think it also is part of living, and having lived, to the whole point of your podcast, people over age 50. At some point you say to yourself, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What is there to do? I can't just sit here and watch the news all day.
A lot of people do. And that's what's sad. They get in that rut and they need somebody to come in and jar them and move them out of that comfort zone and out of that rut into a more fulfilling and purposeful life.
Absolutely. And so that's what I try to help people do, and especially with my books, and then with anything I can help people with. But the thing is, we can all do it. Everyone is capable, no matter what. If you have a disability, if you're neurodiverse. My sister has Parkinson's. My twin sister has Parkinson's. But she just keeps going. She's a massage therapist. She's a healer. And she helps people every day. And they don't necessarily know she has Parkinson's, but she knows, but she just keeps going. And so everyone can do it. That's right. Conscious. Everyone can live consciously, because if we all do it, we'll contribute to the greater good. And really, I think when it happened to me that my purpose was very self-evident, right. I was lucky. I really do. Because it's not that, I don't think it always happens that way, but it just was the right time. It was the time.
If you could turn the clock back, is there anything you'd do differently?
I don't think so. I try to say I try to live without having regret. So that's why also living consciously is very helpful to your everyday life, because sometimes people do have regrets because they made different decisions. So another thing that is a big part of living consciously is being observant and being the observer. So when you're working with people, in a relationship with people, not reacting based on what your triggers are, based on how, you've lived your life. Understanding yourself so that you can be the observer and understand, okay, so this is the decision before me. What is the best way to go? And being not in a reactive mode helps you not have regrets. So I don't have really any regrets. Maybe early in my career, a job I should have taken or something. But really, that's what helps me not have regrets. I've always tried to do the thing that was the best at the time for me, that I felt would give me a more expansive life or be a great opportunity to forward what I really want to do at the time. And that changes all the time. We're never going to be the same on any given day. And even a year ago, I was in a different place and mindset. And then you have your family and your children or whoever it is, your parents. And so circumstances move you in certain directions. And so when you're doing that, to try to do it consciously and stay true to yourself, if you can. Hard to when you have a family, but if you can, it should be the priority.
Sure.
So you don't have regrets.
What are you working on now?
So now I'm working on my 4th book, which is a practical guide to love and relationships.
Ooh.
So everybody says I did a reader poll, and people are very interested in the topic. And as I'm writing it, it's not just about coupling. It's not about true love relationships. It's about all relationships and how love has to be the center, but also it will focus on coupling. Because back to the whole conversation we just had, knowing your why, understanding what your triggers are, communication, being present, and living consciously.
Yep.
That helps have successful relationships through effective communication.
That's awesome. When is that book coming out?
Don't put any pressure on me. I've been writing it only for about 4 months.
Okay.
So I've been thinking a lot about question. I'm trying to finish it so I can have it maybe for fall.
Oh.
And I have a flow going.
Okay.
I'm not sure how it's all going to end up because the inspirational process is different. I think people want tactics on how to have better relationships with whoever you're involved with in your daily life, whoever that is, whether it's your colleagues, your husband, your wife, your children.
That's right.
There's a lot more stress in the world. And if we can be more loving and communicative and open to recognizing the person we're talking to also has a position.
That's right.
And whatever that is as valid as ours. If we can just keep thinking that and try to step back, it's hard, I know, and observe and be the observer and not react. And if we can come from a place of love, it's going to be easier, but we have to have kind of a roadmap. So that's trying to create.
So maybe the book will be ready by Valentine's Day of 2026.
You know what? That's a really good target.
There you go.
Published by then. Yeah.
Excellent.
That'd be great.
I understand you're also doing some writing retreats overseas.
Yes. So I'm offering again now that I hope all the pandemics and the COVIDs are over. I offer writing retreats or conscious living retreats, conscious writing even. Conscious writing is great. It helps you just jump into the creative consciousness and get it going. In the south of France, a place I visited a lot, and they would be like short retreats, like 5 days, small groups of people, and just focus on, that's the focus. What do you want to write? What do you work, or you're working on something in a peaceful surrounding where the focus is meditation, stillness, writing, and then running around and seeing the little towns around in the south of France.
Okay.
Yes, I'm starting to offer those beginning in end of September this year. I'm not sure how that's going to work, but it'll be September, October, and then March of 2026. And I'm working on doing a book signing in Charleston, and that's the next thing I'm doing for the books I already have.
Super. So if people wanted to sign up for the retreats or get more information about the services you provide, how could they contact you?
So you can email me if that's what you do. You can go on my website, which is seeingbeyondtheordinary.com. And I'm on Instagram, I'm on LinkedIn as Susan Nefzger, and that has My LinkedIn has everything on. And you can call me. And that's all my PR website. I have a website for my PR, which is at Susan Nefzger PR.
Are you on Facebook at all?
Yes, I'm on Facebook.
Okay.
I don't interact on Facebook as much as I should. I'm on it. The other thing I do is photography. So that was part of it. My photography is on Instagram. So I share that because for people to join it.
Very good. Thank you for your time today, Susan. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. I enjoyed it so much, and I hope that you did too.
I did indeed. Thank you again. After turning 50, Susan Nefzger's life took a dramatic turn from promoting state lotteries and hospital systems to nurturing the souls of individuals seeking more meaningful lives. What gives Susan's life purpose now is the opportunity to help others rediscover themselves, not through productivity hacks or career ladders, but through conscious awareness and personal growth. While attending the writing retreat in Glastonbury, she mind mapped her first book and began tapping into a creative force she never knew she had. Since then, she's written multiple books to help others explore their inner lives and align their actions with their passions. Today, Susan often works with midlife professionals or retirees as individuals or in small groups. She guides them through vision board exercises, breath work, self-reflection, and daily mindfulness practices. She teaches people how to slow down and get present so they can hear the quiet whisper of their own longings. Susan emphasized the importance of serving others not as an obligation, but as a natural outflow of self-knowledge and alignment. The loss of her mother further cemented her belief in the beauty of presence. Rather than dwelling on grief, she saw grace in the peaceful transition. Susan knows that, even in hardship, we can find meaning and light. Now at peace with her path, Susan is writing her fourth book, titled A Practical Guide to Love and Relationships. She is also leading writing retreats in the south of France. Susan continues to help people realize that joy does not have to come from a major career or dramatic lifestyle change. It can be found in a cup of coffee, a quiet moment with a pet, or in the courage to simply be still. To learn more about Susan, her books, retreats, and coaching, visit her website at www.seeingbeyondtheordinary.com. The book, A Practical Guide to Awareness, is available on Amazon and in other bookstores. That's all for this week's show. If you'd like to start living a more meaningful life, I encourage you to download our free guide to finding purpose, which is available at www.forwardfrom50.com. I'll have another inspirational interview on the next episode of the Forward from 50 podcast. Thank you for listening, and if you like this show, please consider leaving a review wherever you download the episodes.